Hello, in this video, I'm going to talk about wildlife photography for hobbyists. By hobbyists, I mean people like me who have full-time job, who have family. Then one day I saw a fox in my neighborhood or a herd of deer, or I'm going whale watching with my friends, or my family will go on vacation in Yellowstone or Alaska, and I want to take some wildlife pictures. So that's hobbyist. If you envision yourself carrying $15,000 worth of camera gear, hiding in the bushes, waiting for a wild Siberian tiger to show up in the Russian Far East, this video is not for you. As a hobbyist, you do not need to have a dedicated wildlife lens for wildlife photos. This picture was taken with a 50mm prime lens in Northern California. A flock of 8 pelicans were flying below a cliff. You can see this is a nice picture. This picture was taken with my 35 to 150mm standard zoom lens. It's also called the portrait zoom lens. At a 150mm, I was able to get close to this chipmunk and still snap a nice shot. This picture, again, the same lens, 135mm sometimes is all you need if you can get close to the animal. Same for this picture of osprey, yeah. So a standard zoom lens or a standard zoom lens with a bit of beefed up telephoto end, like the 35 to 150, is good for a lot of situations. This is a picture of a turtle. This animal is very slow. You can get as close to it as you want. It will not object. But if the animal is small and far away, you will need a dedicated telephoto lens. Like this bird is very small. I used a 400mm telephoto lens. If you use a 50mm, the bird would have been much smaller. 400 divided by 50 gives you 8. 40 divided by 50. 400 divided by 50, yeah. 8 times 8 is 64. A 50mm lens would have produced image with a bird that is 1/64th the size, which is tiny, yeah, a tiny bird. So for a lot of situations, you will need dedicated telephoto lenses for wildlife. So we have to talk about gear because unlike, say, portrait photography, you can get away with a very cheap nifty 50 that costs you less than $100 to produce professional-looking portraiture. For wildlife, a lot of times you need dedicated telephoto lens. Here's a picture of Nikon's 180 to 600mm telephoto lens. This is a great wildlife lens, but it cost over $2,000 and it weighs almost 5 pounds, 4.7 pounds. So it is bulky, heavy, and expensive. As hobbyists, we have to strike a balance because if you are on foot, you have to carry this gear for long distances. You will hate every ounce of the lens. So if you strike a balance, I would recommend this lens. This is a picture of the Sigma 100-400 telephoto lens from Sigma. This is for the Sony E-mount. This is my telephoto lens because it's lightweight, relatively, yeah, 2.5 pounds. It's much lighter than the other lens, and it costs less than $900. And for this kind of lens, it is still heavy. 2.5 pounds plus the camera body gives almost 5 pounds of weight. You may still have other stuff like the filter, lens hood, tripod collar. These things all add up. 5 pounds, if you hand hold this lens for 3 minutes, for me, for 3 minutes, my arm will become fatigued. And if I'm shooting video for 3 minutes, my image will become wobbly because my hand will shake. Arms become fatigued. So you will need to carry with you a monopod if you plan to shoot videos for a long period of time. And also, if you're on foot, you travel with this lens, it's very heavy. Camera plus lens, like 5 pounds, that's a lot of weight. You will not be able to travel very far if you're not strong enough. So strike a balance between image size. As I mentioned, the square of the focal length gives the image size. Strike a balance between image size and practicality, factoring the cost, the weight, and size. Compare this lens to the 600mm Nikon lens. The image taken with this lens will be less than half the size because 6 squared is 36, 4 squared is 16. 36 divided by 16 gives you 2.25. So the 600mm lens will give an image. If you think of the bird, the 600mm lens will give you the size of the bird more than twice as big, 2.25 the size. Yeah, so strike a balance. If you want closer up image, you do not mind the weight, go for a professional grade telephoto lens. Otherwise, strike a balance. I will show a few other pictures. This picture was again taken at 150mm. And if you zoom in, because that Samyang lens or Tamron lens, Rokinon lens, Samyang lens, it's very sharp. Even if you zoom in, you still get a very nice image. So even if you do not have a professional telephoto lens, you can still zoom in. For a standard sensor of 24 megapixel, on the 4K display, you can afford to crop out 2/3 of the image and still without losing any resolution. So a sharp lens can actually produce better results than a lens that's not very sharp, because the sharp lens allows you to crop aggressively. For most people, unless you're lucky enough, your life is a vacation, you go on African safaris all the time, or you live right next to a national park with a lot of wild animals. For most folks living near cities, I would highly recommend that you prioritize a portrait lens before this dedicated wildlife lens. For example, this is taken with a Sigma 135, Samyang 135mm f1.8 prime lens of my daughter's school's concert. The image quality is tremendous, and the telephoto lens for wildlife usually starts at f5 or something. It's very dark. It's completely useless indoors. But this portrait lens give you fantastic image quality for indoor events, for sports, unless it's like a soccer game. The field is huge. But for most sports like tennis, badminton, you can use a portrait lens, like teleportrait lens, like 135 or longer, for this kind of shoots. And there's also 70-200 f2.8 lens, great portrait lens, great lens for events, and you will get much more mileage out of this kind of lenses than a dedicated wildlife lens. So I would highly prioritize portrait lens before a wildlife lens. Now let's talk about camera. You do not need a dedicated wildlife sports camera for shooting wildlife. This is a picture of a Sony A9 III. It cost over $6,000. If you watch the news back in July 2024, when President Trump was running for president, he was shot. Actually, some guy shot at him. The bullet grazed his right ear. There was a famous photo of him holding up his fist with blood trickling down his cheek. That picture probably won him the election. That picture was taken with this Sony A9 III, professional sport and wildlife camera. It can shoot more than, I think it shoots 120 frames per second. And its autofocus system is extremely intelligent with subject detection. If you have the money, feel free to buy one of these bad boys. But any modern mirrorless lens with the good image stabilization and subject detection with artificial intelligence will do. You may miss a few shots, but it's not a deal breaker. You're just hobbyist. Any modern mirrorless camera will do for wildlife photography. This Nikon Z5 II, which costs slightly over $1,000, can offer tremendous performance. The subject detection autofocus is very good. It's not as good as a pro camera, but you can still take a lot of wonderful wildlife photos with this camera when paired with a good lens. So you do not have to spend a lot of money on camera. Any modern mirrorless camera with a subject detection, image stabilization on the sensor will get the job done. You will still get plenty of good pictures. Having talked about the gear, I want to debunk a myth in photography, which is the APS-C sensor camera give you extra reach. No, it does not. A 200mm telephoto lens is a 200mm telephoto lens. Doesn't matter if you attach it to an APS-C camera or a full-frame camera. The image size, like this bird on the sensor, is the same. An APS-C camera makes as if it has extra reach is because of the crop factor. It's as if you have cropped out the part you do not need. There's also the matter of pixel density. So sometimes APS-C camera have denser pixels, but let's keep the argument fair. Given the same pixel density, the same lens will produce exactly the same image. Whether you use an APS-C camera or a full-frame camera, the only difference is the image size. The APS-C camera have smaller image size because the crop factor, the sensor is smaller. So no, APS-C camera does not give you extra reach. Now, let's talk about some practical considerations when shooting wildlife pictures. Let me tell you this, there's nothing replacing lessons learned in the field. You can watch online tutorials, videos, and stuff. It's not the same as if you carry a heavy telephoto lens and taking pictures of the wildlife yourself. How to approach the animal without startling it. Also, some practical considerations. The water, if you're on a long journey on foot. Water, food, clothing, these things should take higher priority. I was on a hike at the White Mountains. It's called a Falling Water Trail many years ago. There were 4 of us. One friend, he hiked the Falling Water Trail and the Mount Washington, 2 mountains in one day. That's close to 20 miles. Me and another couple, the couple very quickly ran out of water, and I had to run to the trailhead, which was a campground. I bought some beverages, the Coke and stuff, and then I carried the beverage and run back the trail to meet them. By the time I reached the couple, they already drunk from a stream, unfiltered water from a stream, because they ran out of water. So water, food, clothing, highest priority. During the winter, especially good gloves to protect your hands. Also, enjoy your trip. You do not want to carry expensive, heavy gear and be weighed down by your gear, and you couldn't reach some of the destinations because the gear is too heavy. So enjoying the trip, that's more important for hobbyists than taking professional-looking pictures, because that's not your job. Relax, enjoy your trip, enjoy your vacation, and snap a few shots on the side. That's what makes your trip so enjoyable. Okay, thank you for watching the video. Bye.